I couldn't save my child from being killed by an online predator. Breck Bernard, a 14-year-old boy who loved gaming, was caught online and murdered in 2014. His mother, Lauren Lefebvre, was worried. Would her pleas for help from police have been taken more seriously if it had been a girl? I approached Lauren Lefebvre's house in Caterham, Surrey, sat back and until on a long dark road. My fear is that she is behind the door, dreading my arrival. I'm thinking how difficult it will be for her to go over the grooming and murder of her son Beck yet again, and how difficult it must be to talk about murder games, a BBC documentary that unpicks each turn of the case, with interviews, analysis, and sinister reenactments. Very soon, though, Lauren curled up by the fire spinning tea in a silent house. I realized that recounting how her eldest child was lured to his death is no more or less difficult than anything else. Getting up each morning, shopping, attending parents' evening with her remaining three children, it's all equally hard and I think of dread everything, she says.
It's all equally hard, and I kind of dread everything. I do these things, I do everything in a robotic way, forcing my body, when really I rather sit and hide and disappear because the pain this has caused is just too deep.
Murder Games is a hard program to watch, harrowing beyond belief, but probably essential brain for all teenagers, and teenage boys in particular. To be shown on BBC Three, it will come with website links, access to advice and information on internet safety. There has also been a separate screening for teachers and charity workers via BBC Learning and BBC Outreach.
The reason I agreed to the program is that I can't bear to have lost the most precious thing to me for nothing. I want everyone to understand the dangers.
Lauren's story starts with a son who, like so many other boys, loved gaming. Bragg was born in 1999. His American parents, Lauren and Barry, had come to the UK 2 years before for Barry's work as an oil trader. 2 years later, their triplets were born, Carly, Chloe, and Sebastian, now 14. Though Barry and Lauren separated in 2006, Barry remained close, having the children every other weekend.
From the start, Break loved fixing things, taking them apart, putting them together. At school, Break wasn't with the footballers. He wasn't competitive. He was in the Lego gang, a little group who made rockets and guns and ran around playing out little fantasies.
Later, computers drew him in.
He dismantled and rebuilt them. We didn't buy the setup he had. He was very resourceful, saving birthday and Christmas money, selling and exchanging parts.
The Breck excelled in school and was an A-star student. Lauren describes him as chill.
He never yelled, swore, slammed the door. He'd come home, get his homework done, his chores out of the way, then go online.
Online, Breck would game. At 14, he was invited into an online gaming group, a virtual clubhouse, by school friends.
Brick's bedroom door was always open, and he'd sit with headphones on. There was a gaming screen where they might be on Battlefield, a screen with icons for the boys who were online, and another screen for live messaging with images or music or YouTube clips, whatever they were talking about. I have to say, I'd rather sit and talk face to face, but I could see why they liked it. It was very interactive, social. I could hear everything they were saying. I love hearing Breck's laugh, and there was nothing very sinister.
Except for one thing. The ringmaster, whose server to play it on, while the other members were known to Breck or his friends, Louis Daniel was not someone they knew in real life. He claimed to be a 70-year-old computer engineer running a multi-million-pound company. Sometimes he was in New York working for the US government, other times he was in Dubai or off to Syria.
To Breck, who still had his baby teeth and saw no evil in the world, Daniel seemed very cool, very exciting.
When Lauren walked into Breck's room, he'd say, "My mom's coming," while the other boys would go quiet. "A mom is enough to silence most teenage boys," Dane would say. "Hey mom," and start some banter. When she just returned from a dance class, he'd seen a dancing lady across the screen.
I might ask what was going on in New York, and he'd say, "Not a lot." I'd ask why he wasn't out with friends on a Friday night, and he'd say he was too tired. My fear was that he was some 40-year-old pedophile sitting in his underpants.
As the months passed, Dane's presence loomed larger.
I'd get a lot of Louis says. Louis says I don't need to finish school as he can get me a Microsoft apprenticeship when I turn 16. Louis says as I don't drink or smoke and do well in school, I should be allowed to game as long as I want.
It became harder to get Break offline to do his homework or his chores. When Lauren walked into Breck's room, Dane now sent images of witches or goose-stepping killers on screen. Lauren believes if it was a daughter enthralled by an online stranger, she would have been taken more seriously.
I wanted him to not show up and prove he wasn't who he claimed to be, but Danis wouldn't. He was too busy with important work.
In December 2013, Lauren could take no more.
I knew I needed to do something, so I did the biggest thing I could and dialed the police on 101. I told the call handler what I'd heard, what I feared. She obviously didn't understand online grooming. She asked if Breck could just pay on another website or if I could ask Lewis not to contact my son again. If it was that easy, I'd have done it. I gave her Louis Diane's full name and his country, and by the end, I honestly believe he'd be checked in the police national computer.
Had this happened, police would have seen that Lauren had good reasons to be afraid. Louis Danes had led a troubled life. His parents had divorced, his mother had left the country, he'd spent time in the care of his grandmother and his local authority. Now 18, he was unemployed, living alone in an Essex flat where he bought server space and used it to game with teenage boys. In 2011, he'd been accused of raping a boy and possessing indecent images, though he was not charged.
In my dream life, the police look him up, then come and tell Breck who Danes really is.
Instead, she heard nothing. She confiscated Breck's computer equipment and organized a meeting with Barry, Breck, another boy from the gaming group, and his parents, where they set out their suspicions. But Danes was one step ahead. He couriered a phone to Breck so they could communicate and persuade Breck to record a meeting about him so he knew what was said.
From then on, he knew we were on to him. It sent everything underground.
Realizing that time was running out, police have now established that Danes began to claim he was ill and dying, too weak to run his company. He decided to hand it over to Breck if Breck could come to his flat in Essex and learn how to take it over. It's not the grooming we associate with girls and predatory pedophiles, nor the kind we warn our children to watch for.
This wasn't sexting. Police didn't find a single image or text about bodies or sex. Breck thought their relationship was about technology and computers.
Danes, meanwhile, was buying duct tape and condoms. On Sunday, 16 February 2014, Breck took £100 taxi ride to Dane's home, Dane's bed. It was the start of half term and he was starting with his father, but told him he was going to his friend Tom to build a new server. Later, he texted to ask if he could stay the night there. What happened in Dane's flat is still unknown.
Unfortunately, you do try to imagine. At some point, the tables turned and Breck must have thought, oh my god, my mom was right. And it would have been too late. My heart breaks to think how scared he must have been to be tied up and gagged and stabbed by someone he trusts so much.
Dane's eerily calm, usually chilling 999 call on a Monday morning is played on the opening of modern games. Barry and Lauren's life now crossed into the realms of a horror flick. Danes had cut Breck's throat, photographed his body and sent the image to other members of the gaming group. The news quickly spread between phones to which Breck's siblings, just as police, were informing their father. Danes later pleaded guilty to murder with sexual and sadistic motivation and was sentenced to life imprisonment.
It's incomprehensible. I have to carry on for the other children, but I've aged 100 years. The triplets lost their youth. They went from 12 to teen, from Jay, happy, poo-poo, to duct tape, murder, stabbing. I didn't know Danes was a murderer, but I knew he was dangerous. All I'd done with police, with other parents, with Breck, all the rules I'd had, the talking we did, it all failed.
Before the funeral, while they were still waiting for Breck's body to be released, Lauren decided to set up the Breck's Foundation to raise awareness on internet safety. She speaks at schools, conferences, to parents and police.
When I was worried about Breck, no one I turned to understood or knew what I should do. Boys may report this less, but I want everyone to understand that they can be groomed and hurt, maybe not murdered, but hurt in other ways, by people who are not who they say they are online. I want police to understand what grooming is so that when parents calls with a name, it will go into the system. There's nothing worse than thinking you could have saved your child and didn't. I cannot bear for another family to go through this.
I think the program shows children, parents, and teachers how quickly something can change from good to bad. At the beginning, the gaming seemed like fantastic fun. When Breck first showed me, I thought it was the coolest thing. And for Breck, it wasn't just the games. He built his own computers, he was into coding, he was passionate about technology. It turned horrible very fast. Lauren and I were separated, but I'd always seen a lot of Breck. We were very close. We talked all the time. Even when he was playing that crazy game, he'd always get off when I called. He'd game when he was at my house too. I'd heard Danny's voice, but Danny's never talked to me the way he talked to Lauren. Maybe because I'm a man. I was worried though. I knew his stories were outlandish. I mean, no 17-year-old will be running a major consulting firm working for the US Defense. Like Lauren, I thought he might be a pedophile. And I told Breck that if he wanted to keep talking to this guy, I needed to meet him first. I offered to go along with Breck to meet James, but that never materialized. By the December before Breck was murdered, I was worried enough to move back from London to be very close. I had the children for half term, and when Breck told me he was going to see a friend, I was happy that he was doing something that wasn't online. Later, when he texted to say he wanted to stay the night, that they ordered pizza, I was still happy. We really don't know if Breck sent the text himself or what happened that day or evening. I can only hope that at first he did have fun. I have been to Danny's flat, and let me tell you, it's a dump. But perhaps to a 14-year-old, this place with no parents was great. There's no word for the impact except devastating. One thing that gets me through is seeing families like the McCanns or the parents of Millie Dollar, who was missing for 6 months before her body was found. At least we know where Breck is. We know the person who killed him, and he's in jail. As a parent, you're supposed to look after your child. We knew there was a problem, but still Breck was murdered. If the police had looked Danes up and told Breck that he wasn't who he claimed to be, that probably would have stopped everything. I believe that if Breck had been a girl, we'd have been taken more seriously.